Hi, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joyofbaking.com. Today we're going to make carrot cupcakes with the cream cheese frosting. So we'll start by making the carrot cupcakes. So preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 180 degrees Celsius, and then you will need a 12-cup muffin pan, and you can line them with paper liners like I've done here, or you could just either butter the muffin cups or just lightly spray them with one of those non-stick cooking sprays. And then this is a really easy batter to put together. Now you could use an electric, either a hand mixer or a stand mixer, but I'm just going to make it by hand. So the first thing we need is 1 1/3 cups, which is 320 milliliters of finely grated fresh carrot. So start with about 1/2 pound, which is about 225 grams of fresh carrot, and then cut off the ends and peel them. And then I like to use the fine, if you have a box grater like I'm using, use the fine grate. I mean, you could use the medium-sized grater for this, but what I'm looking for is, like you can see, just finely grated carrot. And the carrot adds not only the moisture for these cupcakes, but also carrot is quite sweet, so then we're also getting some sweetness from them. So for the wet ingredients, in a large bowl, place 2 large eggs, and then I'm just using a wire whisk, and I'm just going to whisk those. Just give them a good beating. Like I said, you could use a hand mixer for this. And then I'm going to add 2/3 cup, which is 135 grams of granulated white sugar, along with just a 1/2 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. And again, just add a good stir. And then I'm going to just pour in 2/3 cup, 160 milliliters of oil. I'm using a flavorless oil. Now that could mean you could use a vegetable, a corn, a canola, safflower. And then really give this a stir. You want it to thicken a little. Okay, that looks good. And then 2/3 cup, 160 milliliters of applesauce. I'm using an unsweetened applesauce. Now, if all you had was one that has sugar in it, I might kind of use a little less of the white sugar. And now, if you don't want to use applesauce, you could also use an equal amount of a grated apple. You could also use an equal amount of crushed pineapple. And this is really going to add moisture to these cupcakes, along with the oil. And the great thing about oil, as opposed to butter in a batter, is it gives you a lot of moisture, but we're going to have to refrigerate these cupcakes because we're putting a cream cheese frosting. And what you will find is the cupcake won't harden. The oil will keep them really nice and soft and moist. So right out of the refrigerator, they'll be great. So then add your carrot. And I'm adding the carrot to the wet ingredients. That way we can get rid of any, like the carrot tends to, as you can see, clump together because it's so moist. So adding it to the wet, we can kind of stir it and get rid of all the lumps there. And that looked great. These have so much flavor to them. I guess that's why everybody loves carrot cake. Okay, so now for our dry ingredients. Put another large bowl. You need 1 1/3 cups. It's 175 grams of all-purpose white flour. Now, if you wanted to, you could replace some of the white all-purpose with whole wheat if you wanted to do that. And then to that, I'm adding a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. just 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I like to use the kosher salt, and 1 teaspoon of baking soda. And really give this a good whisk. So we want to make sure that the baking soda really gets mixed into the flour. And then I'm going to add 1/2 cup, which is 120 milliliters, of chopped walnuts. You could use pecans or almonds or some other type of nut, or you could leave them out. And if you want to, I'm not going to today, but you could also add 1/2 cup of like raisins or currants. Okay, so now what we're going to do is add the wet to the dry. As you can see, you can easily make this by hand. We don't have to pull out our electric mixer for this. Just give it a good stir, make sure everything's mixed together. Okay, and that's our batter. So now, this. So now you can use an ice cream scoop like I'm using here to put the batter into the muffin cups, or you could just use like your measuring cup and or you could use a spoon, whatever you have. Just try to make sure that each of them have like the same amount of batter, because we want them all to bake in the same amount of time. Okay, there we go. That's that. So now, we're going to bake these about 20 minutes. Now, depending on your oven, I would check these maybe a couple minutes before that to make sure that you don't want them to overbake. So, about 20 minutes, or until a toothpick inserted into the center comes out clean. Okay, our carrot cupcakes are now done. See, nice rise to them, and a toothpick inserted into the center will come out clean. So now what we're going to do is just let these cool completely, and then we will make our cream cheese frosting. So now for our cream cheese frosting. If you have an electric stand mixer like I have here, use the paddle attachment, or you could just use a hand mixer. So what we will need is 4 tablespoons, 55 grams of butter at room temperature, and you can use either salted or unsalted, whatever you like, and 4 ounces, 115 grams of cream cheese. I'm using the full fat cream cheese. And just put that in there. And then we're going to just beat these until they're nice and creamy and smooth and there's no lumps. Okay, so we're just looking for it just nice and smooth. So we don't want our frosting to be lumpy. So next, we're going to flavor our frosting with about 1/2 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. Now, if you don't want a vanilla flavor, you could add a little bit of orange extract, or even lemon, or even almond, if you want to do it a little differently. And then you will need about 2 1/4 cups, which is 250 grams of confectioner's sugar. You may know that as either powdered or icing sugar. And sift your sugar, because powdered sugar tends to have a lot of lumps. And then I'm just going to add a bit. If you add it all at once, there is a tendency once you start the mixer for it to all come up into your face, which we don't want to wear it. So I'm just going to beat that in. Just start at slow speed. Okay, and just scrape down the sides and the bottom of your bowl as you need to. And add a little more. You might want to start by adding 2 cups of the sugar and then check the consistency. And then if you need to, add the last 1/4 of a cup. Bit. That looks nice. If you wanted to color it, you could add a little bit of food coloring at this point. As you can see, it's nice and thick, and that's what we're looking for because we are going to pipe this. Now you could just, if you don't want to pipe it, you could just spread some on the top with just use a knife. But we're going to use a piping bag here, and I've just fit it with just a large plain tip. If you didn't have a plain tip, you could just cut off the end of your piping bag and just use that. Or like if you wanted to have, use a star tip of some type if you want it more decorative. And then just put your frosting into your bag. And then just, you want to get all the air out of the bag, so just press down. If you didn't have a piping bag, you could just use like a plastic, like a Ziploc bag. It works just as good. And then once you get it down that, right to the end, just turn it and then hold it one hand and then use your other hand as a guide. And I'm just with even pressure, just go around and let off on the pressure when you're finished and then just up. So let's do one more for you. Like so. There you have it. They're so cute. If you wanted to, you could put a little crushed walnuts on the top for a little bit of a decoration. Now these will, if you're not going to serve them immediately, they will need to be refrigerated because of that cream cheese. But like I said, they will stay soft. So until next time, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joybaking.com.